Welcome to the introduction episode of The Shadow Self, A Journey Within. My name is Todd LeBeouf.
And I'm Joanne Bessesi.
Joanne and I have created this podcast to help you meet your shadow self, to begin removing the mask, guide you to the core of why, to empower and give you the ability to move into your authentic self, and to set sail to begin your true journey.
We will have conversations, teach, and give guidance on how to work with your shadow self. We will also be interviewing various people from time to share with us on how working through their shadow self help them live their life authentically. At this time, I'm going to take time to explain a little bit about the shadow self. The shadow self is when you battle within yourself about what you become aware of what's evil or what's good or what's bad. Sometimes people think greed, jealousy, hatred, selfishness, or egotistic is a negative emotion, which it's not, because once you work with the shadow self of those emotions, you will get more light, more love. You will attract more abundance. You're going to live more authentically when you work to figure out, why are we stuffing these emotions? Why are we not feeling them? Because the shadow self is composed of the unwanted characteristics that we experience, it creates for us this unwanted feeling. So we put masks on so that we don't feel that. Like, I don't want to feel jealousy, so I'm going to cover it up. I don't want to feel uh, selfishness or self centered or self care, so I'm going to cover it up. So another layer of a mask go on. So over time, we have so many masks and we're wearing so many different costumes, masks, that we don't really know who our authentic self is anymore. So, in the shadow self, what Todd and I are going to do, and would hope that you come forward and work with us together and encourage you to do, is take the mask off, allow you to be your authentic self, become aware again of who your self is, who your true identity is, and take the mask off, work with the anger if some anger's there, find the joy, come into the light and be enlightened. And I'm going to share a little bit of my story of one of the masks that I removed for my shadow self. I was always perceived as a very strong person, and that I could handle everything, and that I didn't need hugs, I didn't need help. People would look at me and think, oh, she's so strong. Look what she's accomplished. Look what she's done. So people wouldn't approach me. They wouldn't approach me to hug me. They wouldn't approach me to speak to me. I was always secluded. And I had to look at that and go, why? Why am I projecting that way? Why, in a group of people, is this group being spoken to? Or why are they being hugged and I'm being left out? So I had to turn around and look at myself. I had to look at the why. What was I projecting or seeing in other people? What was my mask? So I had become so used to not having help and not being hugged, and disappointment of unreturned request or self care, that I was such a good caregiver and a wonderful healer to others, but to myself, I wasn't taking care of myself. I didn't know how to accept, I didn't know how to receive. So I became cold and hard. So I would listen to outside forces of, she can't really be that nice. She can't really be that strong. All the can'ts. And I had to look at myself in the mirror, and I saw, looking back at me, a stranger. I didn't see the sparkly blue eyes anymore. I didn't see the person coming from heartfelt, unconditional love. I saw a stranger that was dealing with hurt and anger and frustration. So I said to myself, I have to take this mask off. I have to become deep down just back to myself, and put it out there that I'm sorry for people that I might have hurt. I take ownership of that. I'm going to feel all my emotions. I'm going to feel the joy. I'm going to feel the sadness. I'm going to feel the anger and work through it. And once I did that, people approached me. They said they could see the light. They could tell the difference. Accept help. I ask for help. I get hugs. So in doing so, I remained and came back to my true self. And I think that it's a wonderful, because I like hugs and I like who I am. So that's my little story of one mask I had to remove. And go ahead, Todd.
And while working through my shadow self, as I sat in meditation, I imagined a big boulder in front of me. And I had asked my shadow self to come out and meet me. So out from behind the boulder comes the husky little boy saying, "All I want is to be heard. All I want is to be heard. All I want is to be heard." And after he stopped screaming this at me, I reached out my hand to take his and hugged him and said, "You will be heard from now on, little buddy." So I'm going to share a little bit of a backstory as a child with a hearing challenge and adapting to hearing aids at age 5. I would strive to be sure that what I heard was what I heard and that I understood it correctly. I merely wanted to be understood. I would ask questions or maybe even speak up, speak up about something. And my dad, the very famous statement when I was a kid back in the 60s, seemed to be a famous statement from parents that my dad said, "Children are to be seen and not heard unless spoken to." The message was I was to be quiet and not speak unless spoken to, created a fear within me towards our authority figures, which affected my decisions throughout my life. I gave up my voice, my power. That is when my shadow self was created. How ironic that not only did it shut me down, it put me back in the box of a silent world I knew so well of before hearing aids. It seemed to be my safe place. If I cannot hear anything, no one can hurt me. Shh, I had to be quiet, so therefore I melded into the shadows of myself. I did not have a voice. I was not allowing me to be the true essence of my authentic self. While doing shadow work, I discovered that my shadow self was in the director's seat of my life's show. In discovering this, my shadow self and I made amends. I now have a voice. I'm no longer intimidated by authority figures. What I had realized was I, myself as one, have the authority over my life.
We invite you to join us for the Shadow Self, A Journey Within podcast. After the initial launch, we will be doing this podcast every third Wednesday. It will be available via iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and it will be put out on all social medias as well. Check out our website at www.theshadowselfajourneywithin.com. Sign up to be on our email list so that way you won't miss any of our episodes. You can connect with us on all social media. Join our Facebook page, The Shadow Self, A Journey Within, which is also a private group page. This group page was created as a safe place for a like community to ask questions and share thoughts.